Are you detail-oriented or a big picture thinker? Now, this video isn't going to be about the Myers-Briggs personality type indicator, but there's a good chance that if you are intuitive, you're a big picture thinker, and if you are a sensor, you are a detail-oriented person, but that is not necessarily the case. Just want to say that going forward. I'm not going to be making any assumptions about Myers-Briggs with this, because I do know some people that are like ESTPs that are big picture thinkers, and I know some like INFJs or ENFPs that are more detail oriented. I want to talk about the difference between detail oriented and big picture and sort of the implications, because what I feel like is that society likes to put you in these boxes like, are you detail oriented, are you big picture? But at the end of the day, they want you to be both, when that is just an absolutely unrealistic expectation for someone to fit into. I'm the sort of person where if I know that I'm one way, then I'm gonna try and maximize what I am and maximize my value for a person or for an organization. And society might say that they value big picture thinkers. They value Steve Jobs. They valued Barack Obama. They valued Oprah and all of these sort of visionary leaders, which I just realized all of those I think are NFJs. But anyway, yeah, you value the visionary leader whenever they're leading you or giving you an iPhone or giving you hope and giving you optimism, but it seems like those people aren't valued until they're giving you something that you want. And if you really want the visionary thinker and the big picture thinker to succeed, you're going to have to let them grow up to that point, because a visionary thinker isn't going to just pop out of school and already have this iPhone made for you, ready to go, like the next iPhone. A visionary thinker is going to need mentorship, leadership, and tools to grow in their skill. But the world, even though, yeah, like I'm saying, even though the world might say that they value visionary, big picture thinkers, when you look at the available jobs, most of which are detail oriented, it's often said that like the CEO of a company is the visionary leader, where the COO is the detail oriented person. And when you're 23, you basically are put in detail-oriented jobs. You're basically the sidekick, the assistant, doing the grunt work. I think it's about time that, you know, we realize that some people are detail-oriented and some people are big picture oriented, and I think it's an unrealistic expectation to expect people to be both. Now, sure, you have to use both details and both big picture stuff, but these are all tools. Like I've said before in my other videos, humans are multifaceted and able to use different parts of the brain. You can do both, you can access both, but not at the same time, because by nature of being big picture, you are zoning out the details. These things are opposite for a reason, and when things are opposite, you can't be both at the same time. Now, there's a time and a place to be detail-oriented and to be big picture. But if you are someone that is going to be obsessing over every little thing being perfect, you probably aren't somebody who remembers the mission of why you're even doing it. Because if you remember the mission of why you're doing a task, then that comes with a lot more confidence in what you're doing, and a lot more duty in what you're doing. And like, I know that this will impact people in these positive ways, XYZ. If you have that mission at the top of your brain when you're completing a task, then you're confident. You don't need to stress yourself out about it, because all that's going to do is waste your precious energy that could be used toward creating an idea or optimizing a process or optimizing yourself. And all right, we're 6 minutes into this video. I want to also make clear that I'm not saying that a big picture person is better than a detail-oriented person. I'm saying, if you haven't guessed quite yet, I'm speaking from a big person. I'm speaking from a big picture person's perspective here, and so I'm a little biased in that sense, and I'm a little biased about the ways that society has tried to put me in a box and crank out some sort of value from me that I don't really have much of. I have value. What I'm trying to say here is that, like, I feel like as a big picture person that a lot of the opportunities that lay before me in the immediate future are detail-oriented opportunities. And I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to learn new skills. But the way that I view this, as if you're detail-oriented or big picture-oriented, it's not necessarily a skill. It is an orientation of your brain that I don't think should be, like, changed. Like, if I focus too much on details, I would completely lose any of my value that I have. That's like the nature of opposites. I have a feeling that I'm not explaining this well enough, and so I'm going to try and say this again one more time. I'm sorry, bear with me. The parts of the brain that require big picture thinking, which is what I am skilled at, gives me a specific value. And I know, like, people refer to themselves as either big picture or detail oriented because they choose what has helped them the most in the past in their life and what they seem to be the best at. Because both being big picture and detail oriented could lead to success. But the people that refer to themselves as one way or another are doing so because they've tried both and they've seen what they excel at. I've tried being detail oriented, I've tried being big picture, I've seen which one is more optimized for me, how can I create the most value. And I feel like people, society, employers, whatever, people should trust the individual to make that decision for themselves and be self-aware enough to know what they feel more comfortable doing, how they can bring the most value to you. Because if you can create more value being one sort of way, then to be the other way is actually giving less value to the person that needs value from you. So, long story short, I would say decide if you are detail-oriented or big picture. This is just one way of classifying humans. Really, you should aim to be as self-aware as possible of all of the aspects that encompass you, and just be self-aware about your strengths and weaknesses. This kind of goes hand in hand with what I've thought before, is like that your strengths are your weaknesses. So my strength of being big picture is a weakness in details. Like, it's the same thing. That's synonymous. A strength is just a positive way of viewing a weakness. And a weakness is just a negative way of viewing a strength. These things are the same. And you are you, and you should optimize you and maximize you. And I think that it's unfair of whenever people try and expect both from you when that's impossible. All right. I'll say one more thing. Sorry, this has been kind of a weird video. I hope that this was interesting for some of you if you've made it this far. They say that the devil is in the details. I think that the devil is whenever you are mindlessly spinning your wheels for no reason. And it's all about like I feel like a big picture person needs to create a to-do list. Like I mentioned, and I can link below, tips for NJs, creating a to-do list, crossing off the to-do list, like maximizing your time, making sure you write down the details. If a big picture person writes down the details, then the devil's not in the details. I don't know if that makes sense. There are only some details that matter. Detail-oriented people, they are viewing all of the details because they need to do that in order to grasp the mission and the big picture. So for them, the devil's in the details because it is the only thing that allows them to really grasp the big picture. These both being detail-oriented and being big picture are just means to an end, which is to understand what you're doing clearly, be successful, and execute your mission. If you already grasp the big picture, then you don't really necessarily need all of the details. You need the details that are suiting what you're doing, what the big picture is. And if you're detail-oriented, you don't necessarily need to spend so much time thinking about the mission and strategizing about the mission, because if you're doing all the details, then you have a holistic view. Because if you're doing every detail, then boom, your view is holistic because you are doing everything. It's just a matter of wondering, like, does that sound hard for you, or does this sound hard for you? Like, I feel like most of society is detail-oriented and most of the jobs are detail-oriented, but that is changing. I think that millennials are not more detail-oriented. I think that the school system needs to change to give room for more millennial or more big picture thinking in schools and in careers. And someone commented on one of my videos a couple days ago asking if I could talk about indigo children. I think that this is a little bit related. I could talk about indigo children in another video, but it is a related sort of topic that a lot of children no, they're not children anymore, but millennial generation is linked to indigo children, which is basically like a spiritual phenomenon where they talk about the color of someone's, not necessarily, I don't know if it's their aura, if it's just their vibe, but like a vibe of a generation is like more indigo, and it explains the traits that are associated with with millennials. Anyway, I'm trailing off, and I know when I trail off that means that I should probably just stop talking, because this sort of happens to me a lot where I'm like on a rant, and whenever I am on a rant, I'm like, boom, they're like in the camera talking, and then I forget what I'm saying, and then I trail off. So anyway, I hope that this video was useful, interesting. I'm just sort of talking about things that I think, and thanks for subscribing and for viewing and being on board with listening to my thoughts. I appreciate you.